the heart of the city. A financial hub filled with skyscrapers, luxury stores, and high-end restaurants where only the wealthy could afford to dine. The sidewalks were busy with businessmen in tailored suits, women in designer heels, and influencers capturing the perfect Instagram shot outside upscale cafes. Among them, unnoticed and ignored, was a man who looked completely out of place. His clothes were tattered, his hair unkempt, and his beard had grown thick with neglect. A worn-out hoodie barely shielded him from the cold morning air. His shoes were falling apart, the soles barely attached. He didn't fit in, and that's exactly what he wanted. Because this man was Elon Musk, a billionaire, a tech mogul, the man behind Tesla, SpaceX, and some of the most ambitious projects on the planet. But today, he wasn't here as the world's richest entrepreneur. Today, he was here for an experiment. He wanted to see how society treated those without wealth, without status. Would people still respect him if they thought he had nothing? Would they offer kindness or turn their backs? Most of all, he wanted to know, was success the only thing that made a person valuable in the eyes of others? With a deep breath, he stepped forward. He was about to find out. The cafe stood at the corner of the busiest street in the city. It was famous for its exclusive clientele, CEOs, celebrities, and influencers who sipped on imported coffee while discussing million-dollar deals. The gold-lettered sign above the entrance glowed under the morning sun. The scent of fresh espresso drifted into the air, mixing with the sound of distant car horns and the clicking of expensive heels on the pavement. Elon approached the door. As soon as he stepped inside, the change in atmosphere was immediate. The polished marble floors reflected the golden chandeliers hanging above. The tables were covered in crisp white linens, set with delicate porcelain cups. The customers were dressed in expensive suits and elegant dresses, their conversations filled with talk of luxury vacations, stock investments, and exclusive events. And then there was him, a man who looked like he had spent months on the streets. The room fell into a hushed silence. A couple near the entrance shifted uncomfortably, sneaking glances at him before turning away. A man in a custom-made suit wrinkled his nose. A woman holding a designer handbag clutched it a little tighter. He could feel the judgment, but he kept walking. At the counter, a barista was chatting with a well-dressed customer, laughing at a joke. But the moment she saw Elon, her expression changed. Her smile faded. Her posture stiffened. Elon stepped forward. "I'd like to order a coffee." The barista hesitated, glancing at his torn clothes. Are you sure?" Elon reached into his pocket, pulling out a few crumpled bills. "Yes. Black coffee, please." The barista looked uncertain, but before she could respond, a sharply dressed waiter appeared at Elon's side. "Sir," the waiter said, his tone clipped, "you can't be in here." Elon turned to face him. "Why not? This cafe is for paying customers." Elon held up the cash. "I have money." The waiter's eyes flickered to the bills, then back to Elon's face. For a moment, he seemed annoyed, but then he snatched the money, sighing dramatically. "Fine, 1 black coffee, to go." To go was deliberate. A message. He wasn't welcome here. As Elon waited, he could hear the whispers around him. Does he think this is a homeless shelter? This place has standards. He should just leave. A man sitting in the corner wasn't whispering, though. He was watching Elon, closely, and then he smirked. Elon noticed but didn't react. Not yet. The waiter returned and slammed a cheap takeaway cup on the counter. He didn't offer a lid, didn't say a word. Elon reached for it, but before he could take it, the suited man in the corner stood up. "This place isn't for people like you," the man said. his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Elon met his gaze. "I'm just having a coffee." The man chuckled. "No, you're making people uncomfortable." Several customers smirked in agreement. The waiter crossed his arms, watching. Elon was about to respond when the cafe door opened. A young woman walked in. She wore jeans, a plain t-shirt, and a backpack. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive. But her eyes were sharp, and she had seen everything. "Why are you treating him like this?" she asked, her voice firm. The suited man turned toward her with an arrogant smirk. "Because this cafe isn't for people like him." The woman's jaw clenched. "And what exactly do you mean by that?" The man shrugged. "Some people succeed, others fail. The strong win, the weak lose." His voice was dripping with arrogance. A few customers nodded in agreement. Elon had seen enough. Slowly, he reached for his hood and pulled it down. The room went silent. Then, he reached up and peeled off his fake beard. The cafe froze. The suited man's smirk vanished. The waiter's mouth fell open. The barista gasped. Because now, they realized who was standing in front of them. Elon Musk. The shift in the room was immediate. The same people who had whispered and laughed now looked horrified. The suited man swallowed hard. I was just joking," he stammered. Elon's eyes locked onto his. "Were you?" The man said nothing. Elon turned to the waiter. "And you. You assumed I had no money, that I didn't belong. But what if I told you I could buy this entire cafe in an instant?" The waiter turned red with embarrassment. Finally, Elon turned to the young woman. "You," he said with a small smile. "You were different. You stood up for someone when no one else did." She hesitated. "I just believe people should be treated with respect." Elon nodded. "So do I." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Call me," he said. "I need people like you on my team." Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" Elon smiled. "The world needs more people who stand up for what's right." She took the card, still in shock. Meanwhile, the suited man remained frozen. The people who had laughed now looked away, ashamed. And the cafe? The cafe had just learned a lesson they would never forget. Because that day, Elon Musk had proven something powerful. It wasn't wealth, power, or status that defined a person. It was their actions. And that was something money could never buy.